In my book, Change Your World, I have an entire chapter that basically says we change our world one table at a time. Transformation. That's why, in fact, we call these tables transformation tables, because that's where transformation happens. Now, why does it work in a small group around a table? Because the values that the people are being exposed to, they need to be expressed. They need to be discussed. They need to be talked about. They need to be shared. They need to be practiced. In other words, this is more than a mental exercise. This is an embracing of a new lifestyle. You see, there are three questions that people ask to be transformed. When they look at someone else and look at that person as a catalyst for transformation, just like we are believing you to become as coaches, they ask three questions. Do you care for me? Can you help me? Can I trust you? Now, those are transformation questions. And around the table, those three questions are answered. Around the table, you find people that truly care for you. They like you. Around the table, as you share experiences, you find people that can help you because they've had an experience similar to yours. And all of a sudden you say, wow, if they did it, so can I. And it's around the table after you spend time together that you know, wow, I can trust these people. Now, that is the environment that enables transformation. It can only happen in a small group. It can only happen when a few people every consistently while get together and they just share and ask questions and discuss, learn, apply what they're learning. Transformation happens one table at a time. Now we have one more picture that I want to talk about, and it's the picture of a bridge. When anybody crosses a bridge, what they readily recognize is that somebody has taken time to provide a way for them to cross uncrossable territory. If that bridge were not there, it may not even be possible to get on the other side. There may be a huge chasm. There may be a wide body of water. I don't know, but what I know is this, that bridges just make it easier to get from where you are to where you want to go. And so, we have bridges around the world. Everybody looks for a bridge to help them to get from the location they are in to a desired location of where they want to go. It helps them to cross that difficult territory. And by the way, that's exactly what we do. When we do transformation for other people's lives, we help them cross over. So let me give you visually the pictures of transformation. In fact, I'm going to challenge you when you watch me do it. You practice it until you get it down. Because if you have the pictures and you can do the motions, you'll never forget what transformation looks like. It's very simple. Transformation begins in me and continues as I join hands to help people climb up to reach their highest potential by learning and living good values around a table to build a bridge to a better future. Wow. You see, transformation happens when those things occur. We look at ourselves in the mirror and say, I'm responsible. We join hands. We hold ladders. We take values and put them in their heart around small groups of a table. And pretty soon we watch people crossing over to a better future. And the question I have for you today is very simple. Are you willing to be that bridge to a better future for someone? You see, we want to move from good intentions to good actions as we learn to work together. By the way, let me say, good intentions are overrated. Nobody has ever been helped by good intentions. We have to take what we think we want to do or what we say we want to do, and we have to do it. That's why my mentor, John Wooden, used to say, don't tell me what you're going to do, show me what you're going to do. So what we have done is we went beyond just writing the book, Change Your World, and we went from there to developing this website, changeyourworld.com, to equip people to be values-based, people-centric leaders. And it challenges them to commit to take action. And it's time for us, all of us, to quit cursing the darkness, and we need to start turning on the lights. Yes, there's a lack of leadership, and yes, there are challenges all around us, but I don't want to sit and talk about it, complain about it, curse the darkness. I want to do something about it. And I think you do too. Do you want to join me and quit cursing the darkness and turn on the lights? I'll tell you what let's do. Let's flip the switch together. Change Your World is your invitation to be part of the solution. Are you understanding and getting this? You, remember the mirror? You have the power to change your world. Now the question is, are you willing to be that bridge to give other people a better, brighter future?
I want to ask it on behalf, because we both started out, let's help people today, and obviously you've done that in many folds over, but there's people watching this, they say, look, I'd like to start to transform my life.
Yeah.
You know, there's transformational leaders, but I need to transform my life. I want to take a step towards being happier, being more successful. And they had a minute with John Maxwell. They ran into you in a coffee shop. They said, Mr. Maxwell, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to me about just transforming my life? What would be the step you would take, the thought I should have, the action maybe I should take? Your answer to them would be what?
Well, in fact, I'm going to talk to them right now. Being a person of faith, the first thing I would share with you is a relationship with God, okay? And if you don't have a relationship with God, you're my friend, love you as much as someone that does, so please understand that. I'm not trying to convert you. It's just that when you find something that really is beautiful, you want to share it with everybody. And I remember when I became a person of faith, the verse that grabbed me the most is the verse that says, if a person is in Christ, he becomes a new creation. And I did. I became a new person, again, because of him. Now, let's skip that, okay? If you're not a person of faith, just act like you never heard it, okay? Let's go to the real thing. I would sit down at the table with you and I'd say, if you really want to be transformed, you have to live an intentional life. This is so simple, I don't want you to miss it. Most people don't lead their life, they accept their life. And when you accept your life, you are living on things that are not worthy of your time and effort and energy. And you heard me say in a moment, everything worthwhile is uphill. The reason I want you to understand that is, to go uphill, you have to be intentional. Nobody ever went uphill by accident. You've never read a book on accidental achievements. You have to be intentional with what you do and who you are. And so I would just say to you, find your strengths, become very intentional, and commit your life every day to it's all uphill. It's all uphill. And listen, Ed's very successful. He's got great businesses, he's made a lot of money. Can I tell you something? It's still uphill for him. See, the great mistake we make is we think, I'm going to go out and make enough money, and there's a day when I can relax and I can rest and everything's going to be easy. Can I tell you something? The day that you have that day, one of your children, gets in an accident, problems will never ever leave you. Issues, obstacles, difficulties, they're always going to surround you. So you never get to that place where you've got it made. You're not supposed to got it made. You're supposed to add value to people, and it's all uphill.
Oh my gosh.
So the moment I understand that, then what happens is I commit myself to it, and then it becomes a beautiful uphill climbing life. Because one thing that's beautiful about going uphill is the scenery is really good. So you got to be intentional with it. So that's what I would say to them. Be intentional. Start today. And here's the difference. Good intentions are overrated. Gosh. I know so many people, well, I'm going to do that. Yes, I think that's a good idea. I think I'm going to do that. Good intentions are the most overrated phrase in the world. You've got to go from good intentions to good actions. Nothing happens until you've got good actions, and you won't have good actions until you're intentional with your life. My name's John.
And I'm your friend. And I'm yours.
Welcome to Minute with Maxwell. The word today is transition. It's another word that kind of describes change. What I've discovered about change is that it's the transition that is many times scary for people. It's almost like a person that's a trapeze artist, and they have to let go of the bar that they're swinging on and, kind of, quote, fly through the air to reach the bar that they're supposed to achieve and reach. It's that in-between time, between bars that, you look and say, well, I hope I have a safety net down there just in case the transition doesn't go well. So there's something, I think, for all of us in change that we know that there's something out there that we don't know. And so many times what we don't know keeps us from the thing that we need to experience in our life. I don't think that you can remove fear from transition. I haven't for my life. But what I have done is I've learned to starve my fear and feed my faith. In other words, I don't think you get away or rid of the negative emotions of transition, such as fear or the unknown, what's going to happen to me. But I think you make them lesser when you begin to think of the benefits you're going to receive because you made that decision and you made that transition. So some of you are holding on to the first trapeze bar, and you're just swinging. And you know you need to get over there, but there's something that just fear grips you and you don't want to let go of the bar. Well, I want to encourage you. Let go of it. Because the moment that you go to the next bar and you experience the success of a transition, there will be an inward euphoria that no one can give you but yourself because you made that decision. So go ahead. Let go of that first bar. It's kind of like the baseball analogy. You can't get to second base by keeping your foot on first base. Your legs just aren't long enough. You got to let go of the familiar to get to the thing that's going to greatly improve your life. Make the jump. Make the run. Trust me, when you get to second base, when you get to the second bar, you'll smile and say, I did it. That's a good feeling.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, I do want to go, I don't want to run out of time today before we get to the final two things, but I do want to talk about this concept of shared experiences.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I love about John, and having traveled with him now, as of last month today, May 1st of 2022 was my 22-year anniversary.
Wow.
And what I love about John, of all the things, in the top 5 would be his ability to create memories. Now, in this lesson is shared experiences, but I will tell you, there is a bonding that happens. We were just recently at a golf experience with an incredible, gifted, talented human being that's brought a lot of people of faith into a worship environment. And in this environment, we began to kind of share a new experience with a new circle of friends. And I posted this Facebook post with Chris Tomlin and his wife Lauren and John. And some of you follow us on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. And there was this sheer joy.
There was. I saw
because
the picture.
you saw it. Because of the shared experience of accomplishing something, both of them, and what little bit of role I got to play in it as well, what none of us knew that we could accomplish together. We knew we had just accomplished something that was 2.5 times greater than our highest hope of accomplishment.
Wow.
And the sheer joy when that number and that accomplishment was announced, I just was able to capture it.
Yeah.
We didn't shoot a lot of pictures that night. It wasn't really appropriate. But that one, I was just like, y'all got to do that again. I got to post that because it's this shared experience. Was the results great, Becky? Absolutely. I could bore you with all the details. It wouldn't bore you, but I'm not going to take the time here. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But the greatest part of that evening was the shared experience part.
And you got to do it together.
Together.
You weren't by yourself. You had a moment where you could see it on their face and your face, and again, that's the moment that will stick with you forever.
Let me tell you this. Recently, I'm going to talk another moment. I was at High Point University with Nito Cobain, and it's a round table, and you've already heard the leadership team meeting, so you know exactly where I'm going. I've heard John say often that leaders' greatest disappointment at the end of a great experience is that they don't have somebody sitting beside them, right? I mean, we get these things, and maybe you're even watching this podcast. Maybe you bought the book, the new 25th edition, but you haven't bought it for somebody. I'm telling you, you are missing the joy of shared experiences. I sat at that Nito Cobain round table, and the whole time I could barely even concentrate on how powerful the experience was because I said, my entire leadership team should be here with me.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about with shared experiences. My challenge to you, to me today, is what are you experiencing that would go to the next level if you would just share it with somebody? Again, maybe it's as simple as this book. And for those of you that are listening, I'm holding up the new edition of the 25th edition of the 21 Laws of Leadership. Don't dig into that book by yourself. Don't go through the digital product by yourself. And I know you're going to go to the show notes and hear more about getting that. Don't go to events by yourself, because the power of solid relationships is in the shared experiences.
It is. And you even recognizing, having that thought in that moment that you wished your lead team was there, very easily moves us into that second sign of respect, because of the level of respect that you have for your team and your ability to recognize not only their capabilities, but their potential, shows that sign of respect. You know, when he actually quotes, you can't make another person feel important if you secretly feel they are a nobody, almost hurts my heart.
Yeah.
That not only is that happening, but that we've all done it at some point, if we're honest with ourselves, and recognizing that everyone has something to contribute and that we can learn something from everyone. I mean, that's just the basis of that foundation. But in regards to your lead team, they have proven to you time and time again who they are, their heart of their intentions, what they want, that your vision always aligns, which means you're on the right path. But that respect is reaffirmed through time. It's not just something that happens one time, I think, in this signs of solid relationship. It's something that's reaffirmed through growing experiences.
Hi, John Maxwell here. I'm so glad you're with me on Minute with Maxwell. I've been talking for the last few sessions on moral authority, the highest authority anybody can achieve in their leadership. It's attained by building trust and having character in your life. It's sustained by being good and being successful. And again, people give it to you. You don't give it to yourself. It's always handed to you by the people. And we've talked about the pathway to moral authority, and I've got it on my phone. I want to just share with you what I've been sharing. Number one is competence, the ability to lead well. Number two is courage, moving forward in spite of fear. Three is consistency, doing good every day. And the last and the fourth component of moral authority is character. And I just define character as being bigger on the inside than you're on the outside. You see, the outside is our reputation. It's who people think we are. Our inside is our character, who we really are. And the successful person understands that all growth starts on the inside and then goes to the outside. I was recently in an interview, and the interview was talking to me about setting goals. And I talked about the importance of setting goals. I've had goals, you have, it's important to set them. But I said in the beginning of my growth journey, this is a very interesting thing. In fact, the first growth toolkit that I had was a goal-setting toolkit. And it basically taught me how to set goals. And I went through it and practiced and set my goals and went after all of my goals. So I started off in a kind of a goal-setting mode. But I hadn't done that for 4 or 5 years until all of a sudden I began to ask myself, I wonder if I should go for the outside more than I'm going for the inside. I wonder what kind of a person I should be. And I started going to the qualities of a leader. And I started going on the inside. And one of the things I determined was that I would find out what makes a person successful, and that I would begin growing in those areas. And all of a sudden, I got my eyes off of the numbers, and I got my eyes onto where the growth should be in my life. Now, I say that because character, what I am on the inside, is always going to show up on the outside. When somebody comes up to me and they say something, they go, "Oops, gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that." I always smile, and I don't tell them usually, but what I really say is, "Of course you didn't mean to say it, but you have been saying it. It just slipped out. It was already in there. It just is a matter of time till it comes out." You see, if you've got water in the well, when you put the bucket down, you'll bring out water. If you don't have any water in the well, you can put the bucket down. All you bring back up is air. You cannot give what you do not have. And so character is all about what I have inside of me that I can give to you. And what I've learned in leadership is the fact that the root of all leadership goes back to who I am. I love the expression that says it's wonderful when the people believe in the leader, but it's more wonderful when the leader believes in the people. And I wish you could see you as I see you. Because if you could see you as I see you, you would become so excited. Because you would see possibility, you would see transformation, you would see a fresh start, you would see things that would be greatly inspiring. So I want you to look at your neighbor that's at your table and say to them, "If you could see me like John Maxwell sees me, you'd ask for my autograph." Would you tell that to your neighbor right now? Go ahead and tell him that. Well, some of you are going to be signing autographs tonight, aren't you, huh? You really are. And what I want you, you say, "Well, John, what do you see in me?" Let me share with you what I see in you. I first of all see people that God created for greatness. Most people live way beneath their opportunities and their privileges. And so when I see you, I see you as you are, but I see you as you can be. And what you can be is greater than what you are. In fact, a year from now, you'll have to introduce yourself to yourself. You'll look in the mirror a year from now and you'll say, "Oh my, you look familiar. Haven't I seen you somewhere?" And then you'll have to talk about the fact that during this last year you have grown and you've changed and you've learned. And pretty soon you're going to say, "Well, I knew you, but I'm not sure I know you." And you're going to have to reintroduce yourself to yourself. And by the way, you're going to have to also reintroduce yourself to people who do know you. Because a year from now, they won't know you. Oh, they'll think they know you, and they'll say, "Well, yes, I recognize that face," but they won't recognize the change that is within you. Because you won't be the same person. Because you can't be the same when you get into an environment that is conducive for growth. At your table, you have people who want to see you succeed. Isn't it rare to be in a room with people who want to see you succeed? This is a different feel, folks. You see, you come out from among people that are average. And average people want you to stay average. But when you get to the John Maxwell team, we don't want you to stay average. We don't even like average. We think average is average. And we've never known average to change a life. We've never known average to excite someone. We've never known average to provide hope in the future. We've never known average to be something that people wanted to be following and have as a model in their life. We've never known average to be anything but average. And we think because average is average, we in the John Maxwell team can be and should be a cut above average. So we don't like average. And today is the last day you wear the cloak of average. Take it off. Take it off. In fact, we're not going to let you be average. If we see you begin to settle, we're going to slap you silly. We're going to bring you back to your regular senses of how God created you to be. He made you after His own image. He made you for greatness. And let's just have a confession. Most of us are living beneath our opportunities. Isn't that true? So look at the person you're seated beside and say to them, you're living beneath your opportunities. Oh, okay, come on. Wait. Some of you, the way you're talking, they're living way beneath their opportunity. Let's get it back to where I am on the stage. There's a better way to look at it. There's a better way to handle it. There's another level. Are you with me? So what I want you to know is this. We're going to do our very best to create an environment for you to be successful in. We have our part and you have your part. Our part is to love on you, teach you well, connect with you, believe in you, and give you opportunities. I can say with great integrity to you this evening, you cannot join an organization that will have greater opportunities for you to make a difference than the John Maxwell team. I can promise you that. That's not a hype statement. That's not an exaggerated statement. What other organization can you join that has 22 countries wherein the president of those countries has asked you to come in and raise the level of transformation within those countries and teach leadership values? What other organization can you join that has that kind of an opportunity? What kind of an organization can you join that next year will start putting high school curriculum in the hands of high schoolers, and next year it will be 2 million in Latin America, it'll be 3 million in Africa, and within 5 years we'll be up to 50 million high school kids that are getting great leadership values in the classroom? What other organization can offer that to you? And this is where you come in. The opportunities that are before me are staggering. And sometimes I look at them and I'm a person of faith. I say, God, they're bigger than me, they're coming faster, and they're beyond me. And God looked down and He saw me and He said, you're right, John. You're over your head. Now let me talk to you about being over your head. When you're over your head, it doesn't matter how deep the water is. You're just over your head. So I said, I've got good news for you, John. It's too much for you. And in His sovereignty, it wasn't in my planning. I wasn't smart enough. In His sovereignty, He said, I'm going to bring to you like-minded people who are going to help you make a difference. One is too small of a number to achieve greatness. And in the laws of teamwork, the law of Mount Everest says, as the challenge escalates, the need for teamwork elevates. In other words, the bigger your challenge, the better your team. So when somebody comes and says, I have a big dream, my first question to them is, well, do you have a big team? You've got to have a team to match your dream. Let me tell you what a nightmare is. A nightmare is having a number 10 dream and a number 2 team. That's not a dream. That's a nightmare. In fact, you will rise to the level of your dream based upon the level of your team. The dream isn't going to deliver to you what you want. It's the dream team that's going to deliver to you what you want. And that's why I'm so stinking excited. Because I look out at you, and God is saying, let me tell you how much I love you, Maxwell. Look who I sent you again. A new army, a new team, a new, fresh group of people who want to make a difference, doing something that makes a difference at a time when it makes a difference. And I am so glad you are here. You got here just in time. Where have you been? Look at me. I love you. I believe in you. And I'm going to give you my best, the very best that I have this week. And so will every faculty member. And in a few days, we're going to have you trained and equipped, inspired and resourced, ready to go back into your world and make a difference in the lives of many people. Several years ago, I watched the movie Dead Poets Society. Robin Williams, Carpe Diem, Seize the Day. If you've not watched the movie, I'd encourage you to watch it. It's very good. It was basically a movie about Robin Williams, a professor, talking to his students about don't wait for something great to happen to you as you get older. Seize the day today. Because you see, the tendency for all of us is to kind of think that tomorrow has more promise than today. Hi, John Maxwell here. Welcome to Minute with Maxwell. If that's who you are and that's where you are right now, kind of thinking that somehow tomorrow has more promise, more benefits, more options to you than today, I can promise you that is very faulty thinking. Because first of all, today is the same day that somebody yesterday thought would be so great. So you have to understand, you're living in the day that somebody was saying, this will be a great day for me. You see, the promise of tomorrow is very unfulfilling because there's nothing guaranteed about it. The promise of today, it's very fulfilling because you've got it right now. It is in your hands. You can do something about now, right now. In fact, think about it. Now is all you got. You don't have anything else but now. Yesterday's gone. It's a canceled check. Tomorrow's a promissory note. The only thing that you can cash right now is now. And so this is the day. I wrote a book called Today Matters, and the reason I wrote the book, somebody asked me, why'd you write the book Today Matters? I said, it's because today matters. It really does. We over-exaggerate yesterday. We think it was better than it really was. It really wasn't. The good old days really weren't that good. And we overestimate tomorrow. We think that tomorrow's going to be so huge and so wonderful. And so what do? Is over-exaggerate, overestimate? Come on, it's killing us. And what do we do today? We underestimate today. It's all you got. Now is all you got. So take advantage of it. What have you been postponing and are thinking about doing tomorrow that you can do right now? Make that call. Tell that person that you love them. You haven't told them for a while. You've kind of been putting it off. Write that note. Go do that errand for a friend. Sit down and have that long conversation. Do it now. Trust me, the most rewarding thing in life is to carpe diem, seize the moment. Why? Because the moment was made for you to seize and to take. If you don't, you lose the moment, you lose the blessing. Don't do it. Now is all you have right now. Take advantage of it. Hi, John Maxwell here. Today's word on Minute with Maxwell is belief. Great word. Somebody recently was talking and trying to describe me and said, John, you're a belief magnet. And I thought about that for a moment. And in fact, I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, you have such belief that you draw people to you. They see your belief in yourself. They see your confidence in yourself. And it's a sense of almost security. It's an attraction to people to come around you. Well, as I think of the word belief today, I'm in it with Maxwell, I'm thinking about you. And I'm thinking about you believing yourself, because here's what I know. I've known a lot of people that were very successful because no one else believed in them. But I don't know anybody that's ever been successful if they didn't believe in themselves. See, you can be successful if other people don't believe in you. You can overcome those odds and that opposition. But if you don't believe in yourself, no way. You just aren't going to make it. And so I want to talk to you just for a moment about believing in you. The reason this is so important is that on the other side of personal belief are opportunities and possibilities. And you have to go through the belief door to find those possibilities, to find those opportunities. If I could, what I would really do is I would loan you my belief. I really would. Because when we started the John Maxwell team, we started it for people that wanted to improve their life. And so therefore, I said, I'm going to believe in people that maybe don't even believe in themselves. And I'm going to start an organization that will equip them, add value to them, and will give them a sense of personal belief, because now they have a way to better their life. That's what I want for you. So the best thing I can do for you, if I can't loan you my belief, at least I can tell you that if you believe in yourself, it'll take you a lot further than if you don't believe in yourself. In fact, I want to encourage you. Consider the John Maxwell team. I think your personal belief would increase itself if you were in an environment of people that believed in themselves and believed in others. And that's what happens when you join the John Maxwell team. Thousands of people believing in themselves just come alongside and just rub up against them. I think that belief is contagious. I think it's for you. I want you to have it.
He says, I'm rounding out 20 years of service in our country's great Air Force. And John, thank you.
Thank you very much for what you do.
Thanks for your service, and for every country that has service women and men that are watching.
We're
thank
indebted
you for
to
serving.
you. We're indebted to you.
So he says, I'm often thinking about planning for upcoming transition to civilian life. From your decades of experience in personal growth, what unique traits, values, and characteristics have you observed for people that has been so long in one industry to transition to something new?
Well, it's really a challenge, because that transition is tough, because you have been in one area for a long time and you have learned it and have done it well, and it feels comfortable to you, and it's pretty much who you are. And now you're going to go to something that is very different. And I would say this. There's a statement I use often, I think it's a very helpful statement. Don't leave something, go to something. If you're just leaving the military, but you don't have any idea what you want to do, you're going to flounder for a little bit, because you're not going to something. Versus a person who's leaving the military and they're saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to pursue in my life. But now that I've said that, give yourself a little time and be patient on yourself, because it's not going to be easy. The transition is going to be uphill, because everything that you knew and everything you were good at was in that last area. Mm-hmm. So now you've got to ask yourself, what is it that I had in the military that I was really good at that I can take now into my next area of business or life? And whatever that is, to define it. Define what you really were really excelled at. Then you look over to where you're going and ask yourself, am I going to have the opportunity to exhibit those traits and flesh out those strengths of mine? And the more that you can find over here something that is similar to something over here that you did well, the quicker you're going to be able to transition, and the quicker you are going to be able to get established and hopefully do well in that area.
Hey, Simon, I want to go to you first for the next question. It's from Dominic from St. Louis. And by the way, if you're watching, go to the chat box, list a question. We want to get your question in front of Simon and John Maxwell. This question from Dominic, St. Louis says, what is the best way for a leader to break out of a short-term mindset and embrace a mindset better suited for the infinite game?
Well, the mindset is the infinite mindset. The way to break out of it is to actually sit down and say, what game am I in? Being in the infinite game is not the absence of finite games. It's the context within which the finite games exist. And we use the wrong metaphors and analogies to describe our lives, our businesses. And so most of the metaphors that we use reinforce the finite mindset. We use sports analogies all the time. We use war analogies all the time. This is a campaign. We're launching this, it's fourth and goal, and we have to, this is how we talk to our teams about making, the end of the year numbers or something. And the reality is the analogies are all wrong because these are games that have no finish lines. These are infinite games. And so we have to change our mentality of how it's playing. And I like to think of it more like lifestyle. So for example, like being healthy. You can absolutely have finite goals. I want to lose X amount of weight by X date. It's a finite number. I mean, it's an arbitrary number and an arbitrary date, just like we said, arbitrary financial goals for arbitrary dates. Same thing, right? Sales goals, all of it's all arbitrary, right? And we like numbers. Metrics are really important. It helps people feel like they're making progress. You could never run a marathon without mile markers because it's unnerving. And we have to remember metrics are there to help us understand speed and distance, but they don't indicate the end of the game. It's speed and distance. And so it's wonderful. And we weigh ourselves every day and we're exercising, we're eating right, and we can see the weight come off. And if we hit our goal, we feel excited. And here's the worst part. You have to keep exercising and eating healthy for the rest of your life because the game does not end. Congratulations, you hit your goal. Now you have to keep going and going and going. It's a different mind frame, different mindset. Also, what happens if you miss your goal? Do you know what happens if you miss your goal? Nothing. Nothing happens if you miss your goal. It was arbitrary. But if you've been eating healthy and exercising, the odds are you'll hit that goal in a month or so. You're fine. In fact, you're probably way healthier now than when you started because the metrics were there. The finite game is there to help you make progress in the infinite game. That's the role of the finite game. That's the role of many of those finite games. The infinite game is the context within which those finite games exist. But if we don't have vision, if we don't have a cause, if we don't have a place that we're trying to go to, then the only thing we have are the finite things. The only thing we have are those finite metrics. And that's why we become so obsessed with them, because that's all we've got.
Wow.
That's all we've got. And so you want to have that distant view of a more idealized state of the world, which is different than a BHAG, different than a big, hairy, audacious goal. This is not achievable in 25 years. This is not achievable in your lifetime. All men are created equal. 240 years, still not there, right? But all of the milestones that we pass, we're trying to get there, and all of them are imperfect. But you can see a nation struggling to get somewhere. It's the same at a micro level. To have a vision of service, to have a vision of a world, the way John talks about his business, the way John talks about his work, and all of the things he's doing are the micro games, the finite games that help him measure progress towards this grander thing. And by the way, that is what gives our lives and our work meaning. That the finite metrics actually are adding up towards something bigger.
Oh, that's good stuff. Can I pitch for? Everybody? If you're on, you've got to get Simon's book, The Infinite Game. I'm telling you, you got to get it. and the reason you have to get it is I've read every one of your books, Simon. Okay.
Thank you, John.
I truly think this is, to me, now every book speaks to you based on where you are. So when somebody says it's a great book, it became great because that what was said in that book is coming right up to where I am personally. The Infinite Game was incredible because when I started off, I was goal oriented. And so I laid out my goals. In fact, my first personal growth kit was goals and how to set goals. And so I did. And it was kind of like, how long will it take? How long will it take? How long will it take? And one day in my personal growth, because of the changes happening in me, I went from how long will it take to how far can I go? And that was my first introduction to the Infinite Game. All of a sudden I realized, oh my. And then I began to understand there really is no finish line. The metrics are finishing are not finishing lines. They're indicators of how far you've gone. But if you have a finish line, if you play a finite game and that's all you have, you don't have the bigger infinite game. The problem is when you cross the finish line, as you know, Simon, you're finished. I mean, it's over. And how many times do we see people? They've already died. They just haven't made it official. You know what I'm talking about? I mean,
you see this in companies, right? We want to be the biggest. We want to be number one. So what happens if you achieve that? Do you shut the doors? You've accomplished your goal. Shut the doors. The game is over.
That's exactly right.
So true.
Hey, John, I want to hear.
You want to get that book. Make sure they get the book, Mark.
Thank you, John.
They want to get it.
Absolutely.
Well, today's topic is how leaders can grow, all capital O's, grow their people. And I see here that you have the word grow as an acronym. What's going on here, Perry? Fill us in.
Well, I know I felt a little bit at risk bringing something which some people might think is very elementary to a sophisticated podcast like this one.
That's right.
But actually, my experience tells me maybe I don't think so. I have brought this up on many a coaching call recently when a leader was struggling with how to get actively engaged in coaching. They want to be more of a coaching leader. How do I coach more with my team? And they don't know where to start. I said, have you considered this model that is called the GROW model? And I was stunned. I look at I'm watching them. We're on Zoom a lot of times, and they're taking notes and asking for clarification and questions. And I go, maybe this wouldn't be bad review it'll be a review for many, but it might be new for some.
Yeah.
And I find it to be simple enough that it's usable.
That's what I was just thinking about. I was thinking about it not being too complicated. And as I was just sharing before we went live in the studio, the fact that when I saw the content come across, I was like, oh man, I remember that from years ago, but I haven't talked about it in a while. So I'm looking forward to us diving in and kind of going through this.
Well, you do it well. I've been working with you for quite a while, and I see you with your team and how you operate with this. But I really would like your real world experience on how to apply some of this. But we do kind of complicate the coaching process sometimes. I've had people tell me that they don't coach people like they should because, I don't have a quiet office, a whiteboard, a spreadsheet, and all the stuff. You don't need all that. And I think we should describe the GROW model and how it works, and then maybe you could tell me how we can apply that.
Let's do it.
You probably should be thinking about is how do you apply when you're coaching people? Is there a problem? Is there a behavior or a performance problem, something you could be coaching to? Or you could be thinking about a career progression or helping someone understand the next steps in their progression through their career. Could be a number of maybe even process-oriented things you want to coach to in the organization. But the G stands for goal, and we need to determine right off the bat, what are we aiming for? What is this person, whether it's a performance improvement, what is the performance we're looking for? Is the career, what is the next step? But what is the overall goal is how we start that off.
Yeah. Although this is simple, why I love this is Perry's bringing to us something that's very applicable when it comes to increasing your influence with people at level 2, where you're connecting with them, but also at level 4. And at level 4, we talk about this in the 5 levels of leadership of developing people. And when you do that, you increase your influence with them. And for us, I think the biggest thing that kind of pains us is that we see in organizations, the cultures around the world, there's a lid at level 3. So level 1 is kind of you lead people because of the title that you've been given. Level 2 is because you've connected with them. Level 3 is because you're producing. But then when there's just a lid there and there's this vacant area of what we call the leadership bench of developing people inside their organization. This is a great, very simple, but great tool for you to use as you connect with them. And then as you think about how do I go about developing them. So now coming back to the goal, right? You mentioned this just a minute ago where if this is kind of a behavior or a performance problem, we're going after behavioral change is what we're looking for there. And what is the desired behavior in this goal? The other one was you mentioned about it. Is this a career discussion? And the goal may be what is next? What do you want to do with your career? What's next for you in the organization or even outside the organization, by the way? It's okay to be doing this and developing them and setting up goals even if it is not to stay inside your organization. I think one of the things for me when I think about goal and I think about having conversations with people is that if it's within the organization and it's a behavior or performance that we're looking at and it's a behavioral change, that I want to get really clear around what the goal is. As simple and as clear as possible. Will it be uncertain? Will there be uncertainty? Absolutely. There will be uncertainty about how we're going to go about getting it. What does that look like? What are the problems? There's going to be a lot of uncertainty. But man, if we're really clear and try to get the goal as simple as possible, I think that does a great deal for not only the leader, but also the individual, what you're talking to there. And then my last thing is that I always try to talk about the goal in terms of how that plays a huge part in the enterprise, in the department, and in the enterprise. Hey, so when we go after this goal, this is how it's going to affect the department and the team. By the way, this is how it's going to affect the enterprise. And you got to help to kind of tie that to go together. And so those are two areas when you mention that just come to mind and thinking about the goal.
Both of those is that one you've set up. Most people I don't think have a goal. They're just trying to get through the day or the week or get to the target, get to the quota, whatever. They don't really have a bigger G goal. But I like how the last piece you had is really strong about tying that goal to the overall. Why am I relevant? Why am I even here?
Yeah.
You just increase my value to the organization because now I see why I'm here.
That's right.
To do that.
Keep it simple, but have that conversation.
Hey, podcast listeners, how would you like to be equipped with the tools to continue your personal growth and refine your strengths and weaknesses, all while being surrounded by other growth-minded leaders like yourself? You may have heard of our International Maxwell Conference, or IMC. It's our biannual event in which Maxwell Leadership Certified Team members come from all around the world to grow and learn together. IMC this August is the first time we're opening the event to the public by kicking the event off with our first ever Personal Growth Day. This is a 1.5-day event on August 29th through 30th in Orlando, Florida, and it's designed to dig deeper into who you are and how you tick so that you can become the best version of yourself. If you are unable to attend Personal Growth Day in person, we also offer virtual access to the event. If you'd like to participate in a one-of-a-kind experience and stand shoulder to shoulder with growing leaders who will sharpen your skills and equip you to create powerful, positive impact in your life, go to maxwellleadership.com/personal growth day to learn more or get your ticket. We'll see you there.
So the R stands for reality. This is taking a snapshot of where are you now in respect to this goal. What's our starting point? I have a friend that he said it's unfortunate that the GROW makes such a great acronym, and you can call it the GROW model because it really should be RGOW because you should start with reality first and then go for goal. But for the sake of keeping the model together, reality, I think this can be a tough one for leaders to get to.
Yeah, and to the comment you just made that a friend of yours said, I think the number one thing a leader is responsible for is defining reality. Like that's where that's where we have to start. And many people, I think, struggle with this, especially if it's in the performance area where you think, man, I'm killing it. Like I'm performing better than, and then we start comparing ourselves and that is not a model that we need to have as leaders or as people or individual contributors when it comes to performance. When it comes to the career, I think that many of us think we're further along in our career than we really are, and that we have arrived. And I think that there's a struggle there. And so we've got to define reality, not only if we're looking at this for ourselves, but also for those that we are coaching. And we've got to help them understand that. I spend more time here around the reality than I do on the G, the goal, because there's usually a gap. And we've talked about this on a previous episode. I think it's our responsibility as a leader to help our team understand the size of that gap. And it'll be different for each one of your team members, but we've got to help them understand that there is a difference between what's really going on and what the expectations are, if that's our goal, and then we define reality for doing that. The other thing is when I go through this and I define reality as a leader in this model, I don't make statements about it. I ask questions. Now, listen, you coach very high-level executives, and then you coach also individual contributors on teams. Right. And I know that as a coach, this is something that you work really hard at doing, which is if I can ask them enough questions to get them to define their own reality, and to see the gap, then it's much more powerful than it is me just making a statement to say, this is reality. This is a massive gap. Now you better go figure out how you're going to accomplish your goals. It's just received completely different.
Well, completely, and then all of a sudden you become the problem. In the
Yeah.
they look at you as causing that. No, the idea. Leaders will ask me. They say, "Well, what should I coach?" I said, well, "Coach to the gap." They say,
Yeah.
"What do you mean by
That's
that?"
good.
I said,
That's good.
"Well, this is why the first two steps of this grow model are so important. If I don't know where I'm heading and I don't know where I'm starting, then the gap is not going to be that obvious. So like you said, you spend more time on reality. People struggle for some reason thinking they're better than they are, doing more than they should. I don't think there's a great understanding sometimes of reality. It's a great gift you can give someone to paint a picture of a goal, performance or career or process, whatever we're working on, and then help them understand, well, this is where I see you, give an honest appraisal of where they are, so that it does, all of a sudden, a gap appears. You're here and you want to get there, that's the gap. Now, let's talk about how do we do that. That brings us to the O in the GROW model, and the O stands for options. What could we do in order to close this gap or to bridge this gap, to get across this gap that we've identified now in the first part of our conversation? What are some options?
Yeah. When you get to this in the O of it with options, I love this part because I love options. Matter of fact, I tell my team all the time that I do much better. Again, Perry and I talked in our last episode about even just creativity and how we're different in that. For me, I want to be able to react off of a couple of options and build off of that. Then if you just kind of bring me one option of what this looks like. So as we think about this, as we go from the G, the R, then to the O, is that I think we can create and present, and through questions, we can come up with some ideas. One of the things I do here when I talk about this is that, I believe our coaching model is built off of something very simple. I call it the 3 A's, which is ask the tough questions, help them develop an action plan moving forward, and then hold them accountable to doing that. And I think that when you do that, you'll be able to stir up and have conversations around these ideas and options. But one of the things I do is that I challenge them to look at other individuals that are doing what they want to do. So if whatever that goal is, and they say, hey, I know that Perry has achieved that goal, and I know that that's something that he has accomplished. I'll say, hey, well, what is it that you see about what Perry's doing? And I ask the question. And then I say, well, do you think if he was doing this, that may help you? Like, is that an option? Right? Oh, it might be. And you ask it in a form of question. But you also then get them to look out. Again, they don't know what they don't know. And so you get them to do a comparative analysis on maybe some other people that are achieving similar goals that they would want to do. It's just one way for you to do that. And then what I love, is that if you begin to have those conversations and you leave them with these options and you're asking these questions, then that just opens the door right into your next coaching conversation with them, being able to hold them accountable to your last conversation.
And I love that. And the big thing I learned about the O part about options was it needs to be as much as possible their idea. They come up with the options. Again, if you come up with an option and it doesn't work, then you're to blame. So getting them to commit for that leads us to the W, the final step of the GROW model, and that is some say the way forward, or what will you do? Really trying to get them to pick one. You don't want to leave somebody with 4 options. You want to, what are we going to work on? And I think that really sets you up for those follow-ons and accountability.
That's a good
But how do
point.
you see that?
Yeah, that's a good point. So for me, you got to have clarity around the goal, right? And then you got to have clarity around reality. And then you got to have clarity around what the options are. And then guess what? You got to have clarity around the way forward.
Yeah.
It's the only way, to your point, where I mentioned the kind of the 3 A's about that accountability partner. You should never have a conversation with somebody through this process and then leave it open-ended, right? You should always say, hey, all right, so listen, so what are your next steps? It's one of the things I love about you and I are a part of our team, and we run, what we call our L10 meetings on Monday. It's through an EOS system. It's a format that we use, and we absolutely love it. But one of the things is we get real specific in there, and we say, okay, so if that's our goal, This is where we're at right now, and these are our options. Like, what's the next step in order to continue our way forward? And then we get real specific and we're really clear and we lay that out, and then we come back and then report that the next one. So I would just say, as I kind of wrap up and think about our conversation today, again, another very simple model. Perry and I talk often about the fact that we love, John Maxwell's leadership content, and we love being able to help people. But the only way we're sitting here is because it's simple. Now, it's not easy, and it's not easy to implement, but it's simple. And so today's model, as we think about the gaps that we see with leaders connecting with their people at level 2, and the gaps we see in organizations of not having a leadership bench because leaders don't know how to develop their people, this right here, this simple GROW method allows you to do that.
Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results.